Build Your Business listeners. This is Matt Reynolds, your host for the podcast, and you are listening to what we are calling the legacy episodes. And really, these are the pre-episodes that really led to this podcast, the Build Your Business podcast. This is really my life's work and my brother's life's work in building your business. And so they were originally published in the Barbell Logic podcast as part of the Principles or Coaching Success series, but really touch on similar topics to the Build Your Business podcast: how to improve your productivity, how to set and accomplish your goals, deprioritize urgent tasks, to focus on what is most important to you, and most importantly, to become a better person and leader and business owner overall. I'm proud to bring you these podcasts. Again, many years of life's work, several years of podcasts, and several decades of business ownership. Hope you enjoy them and learn from them. You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. You're listening to the Barbell Logic podcast. I'm your host, Matt Reynolds. This is another episode of the Coaching Success series. Happy Friday. That's what I say every time. Hey, happy Friday. It's Friday. Glad you're here with us this week. And to continue our discussion of hard, Nikki and Andrew had a great podcast on Tuesday. If you haven't listened to it, The Gospel of Hard. So I want to revisit Uniquely Hard for a second. I talked a little bit about the story about this CEO. I'd heard the story of the big CEO founder who basically was asked, how would you do it different if you did it all? He's like, I wouldn't do it. And I found it. And that is actually, interestingly enough, that founder is Jensen Huang, who is the founder and CEO of Nvidia, who is really, they're one of the biggest companies in the world now with the explosion in AI technology. They really make the chips and whatnot and the giant CPUs, like basically what is a CPU for AI. And so I want to play just a few seconds of this, and we're going to do the best to avoid copyright issues because I want to report on it. That's less than a minute long. And so here is this piece of an interview with Jensen.
If you were magically 30 years old again today in 2023, and you were going to Denny's with your two best friends who are the two smartest people you know, and you're talking about starting a company, what are you talking about starting?
I wouldn't do it. I know. The reason why I wouldn't do it, and it goes back to why it's so hard, is building a company and building a video turned out to have been 1,000,000 times harder than any of us expected it to be. And at that time, if we realized the pain and suffering and just how vulnerable you're going to feel and the challenges that you're going to endure, the embarrassment and the shame and the list of all the things that go wrong, I don't think anybody would start a company. Nobody in their right mind would do it. And I think that's the superpower of an entrepreneur. They don't know how hard it is. And they only ask themselves, how hard can it be? And to this day, I trick my brain into thinking, how hard can it be?
So there you go. There's Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of Nvidia, a company that is like $1 trillion company. And for those of you that listened last week, you were probably either left with a fire under your butt, ready to take on true voluntary hardship, even though you know it's going to really, really suck. Or it's possible that you listened to that last week and got sort of down in trying to comprehend how really hard is going to feel. Really hard feels crappy. So you're not really sure if you want to pursue it. And I get that. I want to kind of show the opposite side of that this week, which is that the pursuit of the really hard stuff, that's where we actually find joy in life. This is my experience. Most of us are doing a thing for an outcome, right? Maybe to get rich or to have an easy life or a family with few or no problems. But the real gold nuggets in life aren't found in the easy things. They're found in the pursuit of the hard things, especially when we voluntarily choose those. And thankfully, we're not the only ones talking about this. Joe Rogan had Andrew Schultz on his podcast this week, and this is what they had to say about it.
You like hard shit. That's something I've noticed about you, and I think it's a really important thing it's an important quality to have, as you achieve more success, because with success, life can get easier. So if you're not addicted to difficulty and like hard situations, it's easy to just kind of fall into the comfort of nothing. Because there was a guy who I had on the podcast, Russ, who's awesome artist. But he was like, yeah, once you get money, like things become easy. And then anything that's not easy, you get very anxious about and fearful of. So you like hard things. You admire David Goggins because he's doing hard shit all the time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people don't like hard things. And then when they get success, hard things make them anxious and they stop doing hard things. And hard things are what make us successful. When we have nothing, we have to do hard things.
Yes.
We have to go up in front of crowds that might not be good. We have to go run really hard. We have to work out really hard, whatever it is. And I wonder if that's when like kids who grow up with very wealthy parents are not used to hard things and they don't really have to do anything hard.
Right.
And if they don't have that as like a core value to them, that doing hard things is good, of course they're going to be anxious about everything. Of course they're going to use drugs. Of course they're going to be bored out of their mind. So it's one of those things that like, I don't know, as I've gotten a potentially more comfortable life, I like have to like force myself to do things I'm afraid of. Or I do think that I would just kind of get weak and fall apart.
Comfort is a warm and enticing poison.
Yep.
And it's a slow poison.
Yep.
You can take a little bit of it on the couch, just relaxing.
And it
you
is
take
nice.
a little of it. It's nice. But don't let that get into your veins because it'll make the rest of your life harder because you're going to encounter hard things. And if the hard thing that you don't voluntarily subscribe to, the hard thing that you don't force yourself into isn't harder than the other things in life, you're going to have a hard time managing.
Yeah. And it's voluntary.
It has to be voluntary.
You have to choose it.
You have to have discipline.
Amazing. Did you hear that? The hard things we choose are what makes us successful, but it has to be voluntary. Comfort is a warm and enticing poison, said by Joe Rogan, #1 podcaster in the world. Yeah, this is the message we've been preaching for a long time, right? And so that is super important. Here's the deal. A great business is unbelievably hard. Becoming truly great at any craft or skill is unbelievably hard. A great marriage is unbelievably hard. Raising children who grow into wonderful, well-adjusted adults is unbelievably hard. But here's the thing. It's the process in pursuing those things that brings the most joy, not the achievement of them, not the outcome. It's the process. It's the pursuit. Joy is found in the work itself. And this is why Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were so successful. I haven't talked about them a lot. I'm a huge fan of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Huge fan. Obviously, had their issues, right? Not perfect human beings. None of us are. But these two guys outworked everyone. And I am of the generation, and I believe strongly and can argue, I think, for it, that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT because he got a better return on investment on his work, which happened to be more than anyone else ever did, than anybody else. So the guy got the best return on investment for unit time, and then also probably spent more unit time working, and at least the intensity of that work was greater than anyone had ever shown in the NBA, in the history of the NBA. That's why he's the GOAT, because his ROI was better. He had the greatest work ethic, and he was unbelievably gifted. But here's the thing. I love Michael Jordan, but I love Kobe even more. But Kobe was great. Not the best, not the GOAT, but he was great because he outworked every basketball player who ever lived, including Michael Jordan. He wasn't nearly as gifted as Michael Jordan was, but he showed a work ethic that no one has seen before or since. And in the end, the thing Kobe enjoyed was the work over the winning. It's about the process, not the outcome. Kobe said most people are really afraid of losing or really want to win. He said, I don't think I'm either. I just want to do the absolute best I can, totally divorced of the outcome. Bro, that's tough to do, but that's what he did. And this is really the major difference between Kobe and Michael. Michael wanted to win more than anyone who's ever lived. I really believe that. and he was willing to put in the work to achieve it. But here's the problem. Here's how we're not Michael Jordan, right? But we can learn a lesson here. Once you achieve the goal, everybody remembers, like those of you who are old enough to, and even if you haven't, you've probably seen the video of Michael Jordan, sitting in the locker room, holding the championship trophy and crying over it. He finally got the Pistons off their back, and then they beat the Lakers for their first championship. I mean, it's so good. I mean, I have read every book on Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I've watched every documentary. I've listened to every interview. But here's the thing. Once that was done, and that was fleeting and short-lived, then you have to find the next goal to pursue and find happiness. That's the problem. When the outcome is the only thing that drives you, and you don't recognize the value of the work itself, not to just get you the outcome, but there is incredible value, a refining process of voluntary hardship in the work, not in the outcome of the work, right? Kobe just loved the work. He realized that joy was found in the work itself. Now, I want to stop because you're going to say, like, that's not really what you said last week. You said it's going to feel, I'll use a better word this week. It's going to feel crappy. Yeah, it is. Real hard feels real crappy, right? But it can be real hard and feel real crappy and still bring long-term joy. Those things are actually not at odds with each other. So he realized that joy was found. Kobe realized that joy was found in the work itself, the process of getting better. Achieving the goal will lead to fleeting happiness. Joy is found in the pursuit. So what do we do with this? If you're in the middle of really hard times where it feels really crappy, or if you're scared to step into it at all because of how hard it's going to be and how crappy it's going to feel and all of those things, remember that most of us, if we do this correctly, we will look back on our times of struggle with immense nostalgia and tremendous joy for how we were refined during that process of struggle, the pursuit of the goal. And the joy from the pursuit of the goal lasts much longer and much deeper than joy from actually achieving that goal. And what that does is it takes a little pressure off of us because we know we get refined by the process of voluntary hardship regardless of the outcome. I'm going to say that again. This takes pressure off of us because we know we get refined by the process of voluntary hardship regardless of outcome. I see this every day in my clients when they lift. Clients that start to struggle on a lift and then bail, or clients who give me that 5 seconds of grind, if you've listened to the podcast for all these years on a deadlift. It actually doesn't matter if you got it or not. It only matters to you. It matters to count as a PR. PRs matter, metrics matter, those things matter. But here's the deal. Physiologically, your body doesn't know. Your body got better at deadlifting today, even if you missed the deadlift, if you sat there and grinded on the thing for 5 seconds. It got better. It adapted to the grind. It doesn't know that it completed the lift. That doesn't compute with physiology. That's just in our brain, right? That's okay, it's a PR. I can count it. So if you sit there and struggle with a weight and it's hard and you even miss, but you don't give up prematurely, you don't get out because it gets real hard, then your body is refined. There's that stress recovery adaptation piece, right? You adapt. And life is the same. So when we choose voluntary hardship, we fall in love with the process and the pursuit of the goal more than the goal itself. Like that person you want to be at 85, even if you achieve it, and I hope you do, and I hope I do, it's not that we've arrived at 85, it's the 84 years before it. Oof. It's, what have you done the past 60 years? Like, life is amazing, and life is beautiful, and life is messy, and life is hard. And we pursue hardship voluntarily because it refines us and makes us better. The hardship itself, not for the goal it accomplishes. Great. Like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, wonderful, right? But as you heard from Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz, that can make it lazy. And I don't want to be that, right? My goal isn't to, build this company some value, sell it, and then go play golf for the rest of my life. I'm never going to do that. Right? Like, I'm going to work because there's refining power in the work. This is why we strength train, why we build businesses. It's why we work hard on our marriage. It's why we work hard on parenting. I understand that not everybody that listens to this podcast has the exact same life values as me. That's totally fine. But the intricacies of how that works in the trenches may differ. But whatever is important to you, whatever you think brings you joy, whatever goals you're pursuing, understand that the real value is actually in the pursuit. It's not in the accomplishment. It's in the pursuit, not in the accomplishment. All right, I got tears in my eyes. Sorry, I got choked up. Throat got swollen. Enjoy the pursuit, not the outcome. Outcomes are great. I mean, enjoy that too, right? Like if you win the championship, take the time to enjoy it. Take a few days, take a couple weeks. Enjoy the fact that you accomplished the thing. I think, it's the same thing. Like when first time you deadlift 500 pounds, it's a huge deal and you celebrate it, for a few days. And then you set your eyes on the next goal, whatever that is, 545 because it's plates and quarters, or 550 or 600. And you start pursuing the next goal. And then the refining process is in the pursuit, not the outcome. We're not refined by outcome. We're refined by the pursuit, right? All right, it's another episode of the Coaching Success Series. Got deep today. So remember, last week, hardship gets really, really hard, especially when we choose it voluntarily and things that people will not do. So it's unique. Our unique choice of hardship leads to unique outcomes, but sometimes that is really, really hard and feels really, really crappy. That is normal. And two, there can actually be joy even in that, even in the really, really crappy and the really, really hard. It really can be. I believe that with all my heart. I look back on the hardest times of my entire life, in my marriage, in my businesses, and I look back on it with a fondness and a nostalgia that says, like, this brought us closer together. This brought our team closer together at the business. This brought my wife and I closer together. This brought my kids and I, my family closer together. Whatever the thing is, you'll look back on it with nostalgia and joy. Winning my pro card in strongman, or, hitting certain revenue milestones for business, that was so fleeting. It was such a fleeting amount of happiness that when I look back over my life, what I'm proud of is the amount of work that I've put in, especially over the past 20 years. I'm 45 years old, pretty lazy for the first 20, 25 years. And then figured out how to work. And for the last couple decades, I've worked pretty hard. And I am proud of the work. And I'm even more proud of the refining process it had on me. I think I learned a ton. It's not just the exposure to the knowledge. It's the ability to digest it and change your actions by it. And that's what hardship brings us. So pursuit, I would, even in spite of last week, I would say pursue hardship. It's so good. It's so good. And most people won't do it. So there you go. Another episode of the Coaching Success Series. I hope you guys have a great weekend. You have a great Friday. Springtime. It's wonderful. Trees are blooming. Flowers are blooming. Pollen's probably up. A bunch of you probably sneezing with allergies, but I love this time of year. It's like, new growth and regrowth. And again, so many parallels to life. And so hope you guys have a great week this week, and I'll talk to you next Friday.